Instead, we have the opportunity to make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves and each other. To a global economy that left millions behind even before the most recent crisis hit. An economy where greed and short-term thinking were too often rewarded at the expense of fairness and diligence and an honest day's work. And we must find a way to reconcile our ever-shrinking world with its ever-growing diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of culture, and diversity of belief. In short, we must find a way to live together as one human family. Moreover, no one person or religion or nation can meet these challenges alone. Our very survival has never required greater cooperation and greater understanding among all people from all places than at this moment in history. Unfortunately, finding that common ground, recognizing that our fates are tied up, as Dr. King said, in a single garment of destiny, is not easy. And part of the problem, of course, lies in the imperfections of man. Our selfishness, our pride, our stubbornness, our acquisitiveness, our insecurities, our egos, all the cruelties, large and small. We too often seek advantage over others. We cling to outworn prejudice and fear those who are unfamiliar. Too many of us view life only through the lens of immediate self-interest and crass materialism, in which the world is necessarily a zero-sum game. The strong too often dominate the weak, and too many of those with wealth and with power find all manner of justification for their own privilege in the face of poverty and injustice. And so for all our technological and scientific advances, we see here in this country and around the globe violence and want and strife that would seem sadly familiar to those in ancient times. Is it possible for us to join hands in common effort as citizens of a vibrant and varied democracy? How do we engage in vigorous debate? How does each of us remain firm in our principles and fight for what we consider right without, as Father John said, demonizing those with just as strongly held convictions on the other side? Open hearts, open minds, fair-minded words. It's a way of life that has always been the Notre Dame tradition. You see, I was not raised in a particularly religious household, but my mother instilled in me a sense of service and empathy that eventually led me to become a community organizer after I graduated college. But remember, too, that you can be a crossroads. Remember, too, that the ultimate irony of faith is that it necessarily admits doubt. It's the belief in things not seen. It's beyond our capacity as human beings to know with certainty what God has planned for us or what He asks of us. And those of us who believe must trust that His wisdom is greater than our own. Now, this doubt should not push away our faith, but it should humble us. It should temper our passions, cause us to be wary of too much self-righteousness. It should compel us to remain open and curious and eager to continue the spiritual and moral debate that began for so many of you within the walls of Notre Dame. And within our vast democracy, this doubt should remind us, even as we cling to our faith, to persuade through reason, through an appeal whenever we can to universal rather than parochial principles. And most of all, through an abiding example of good works and charity and kindness and service that moves hearts and minds. For if there is one law that we can be most certain of, It is the law that binds people of all faiths and no faith together. It's no coincidence that it exists in Christianity and Judaism, in Islam and Hinduism, in Buddhism and humanism. It is, of course, the golden rule, the call to treat one another as we wish to be treated, the call to love, the call to serve, to do what we can to make a difference in the lives of those with whom we share the same brief moment on this earth. See the world through other people's eyes. Now, empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.